We're Enactus Club at Georgia Southwestern, formerly known as SIFE Club. We're a community of students and academic business leaders and committed to using the power of entrepreneur action to transform the lives and shape a better and more sustainable world. Enactus is an international nonprofit organization. It brings together students, academic and business leaders, and we transform and help people in the community. It's guided by academic advisors and business experts, and students of Enactus create and implement community empowerment and projects around the globe. The experience not only transforms the lives and develops the kind of talent, but it helps us develop the kind of talents that we need to survive in the real world and make it as business leaders. Our commitment is to take a pledge and together apply our business and passion, talents, and ideas to impact as many lives as we can. Not only to hand out to the people in need, but to work with them side by side and teach them life skills and lessons they need to survive in the real world. Our president of the club is Barbara Ann Bree and Toni Brown. The vice president is Chris Whitley. The treasurer is myself, Cameron Tompkins, and Samantha Price. And the secretary is Kelly Holly.
All right, who's next?
You are.
Oh, I'm next. All right, very good. All right, well, I'm gonna stand up here, and what I'm giving y'all are just some lessons that I have learned over the years. And the thing I would say first of all is do as I say and not necessarily as I do. I wish I had been more the beneficiary of all the experience that I've had. I've been out of college now for, y'all can do the math, I've been out for a little over 20 years. And it's amazing how time makes a difference, not only in what you learn, but also in your savings. And so I used to give a lecture to my class on, how to be a millionaire, how to make some good investments, how to save money, how to maybe do without a little bit in the early days in order to benefit greatly. And I think y'all are going to see just how greatly you benefit in your later years if you're willing to make a few sacrifices. But your handout that you have here, I hope everybody got a copy of the handout. What I'm going to do is give you some general tips for your career, for your personal life, savings tips, things like that. And again, I wish I had done more of these. I did manage to do a few, but even if you do just a few, if you just learn one or two things today, I think it can make a difference in your financial well-being. The first thing I want to say, there's two main points I want to say up front. First of all, Americans are geared toward consumption and living a wealthy lifestyle rather than building a base of wealth. When we think about our income, and I don't know how we got taught this, but our natural propensity is, well, what does that allow me to buy? And what does that allow me to enjoy? How much house can I buy with that? How much of a car payment can I afford? In fact, you see car advertisements don't even talk about the price of the car. They talk about how much your payment's going to be. And that's the wrong mentality. We need to think about how much car we can get by with. And of course, y'all all know the difference between a new and a used car. A lightly used car, always buy a car that's a couple years old or low mileage, maybe a year or two old. Big difference in price there. So the mentality of Americans is wrong. And so if you can kind of take more of a savings mentality and doing without a little bit early on, I think you're going to see just how much that can mean to you later. The other thing is when you go to college, unfortunately, what we're going to teach you in these classrooms is a lot of technical skills. Hopefully we're going to teach you some personal skills, maybe some selling skills, how to get along with people, how to influence people, how to make business decisions. But one thing we're not going to teach you is some of the practical skills of personal savings and making money and saving money and things like that. So I think something like this is a great opportunity for us to learn that. Let me give you a few career tips before we get into the nuts and bolts of saving money. You've always heard it's who you know. Well, it's what you know and who you know. And the main point I want to bring across to you here is I heard a football analyst yesterday on the radio say, you know, players have to make plays. Football players, they have to make a play. But it's up to the coach to get them into position to make a play. So it's what you know that's going to allow you to make the play when you get the opportunity. But how are you going to get the opportunity? How are you ever going to get the opportunity to show somebody what you know? That's where the who you know comes into play. So networking is critical, absolutely critical. So, you know, you walk into a room like this, and not necessarily today, y'all probably already know each other a little bit, but when I was your age, when I was in my 20s, I'd go to a meeting. I was a college professor for a little while before I became a banker, but even as a college professor, I did a lot of consulting with banks. I was involved in the banking associations. I was involved in the Chamber of Commerce, civic organizations, Rotary Club, all those things. And I would always, and this sounds a little, you know, some people look down on people that do this, but I would always say, now who in this room do I need to meet? Who do I need to meet? An older person, a person in a position of power, a person that's achieved. They're not offended when a young person comes up to them and say, I just wanted to meet you. I just wanted to introduce myself. And more than likely, they're going to take a few minutes to talk with you. And looking back upon that, that was the most important thing I did early in my career, was always keeping that in the back of the mind. Who can I meet in this room? Who do I need to talk to? Who do I need to get to know? And then later on, after a few years, it kind of became, well, I already know most everybody, so who else do I not know in here? I want to introduce myself. And be nice to them and show yourself to be a nice, grateful, respectful person, and it will pay dividends. And what that does is that gets you in a position to make that play later on and show what you do know. So it's what you know and who you know. And you're going to hear me talk about this. If you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. Right now, y'all are making career decisions. Don't do what your mom and daddy tell you need to do. Don't do what all your friends tell you. Of course, you need to listen to all those people, but you need to really decide. And I tell my kids this, all my two boys this all the time. Think about what it is that you're passionate about. What do you love to do? And if you love to do something, guess what? You're going to be really good at it. And you're going to excel at it. If it's not work, guess what? You're going to be working when you're not even meaning to work. If you enjoy doing it. The enjoyment will motivate you to work hard. I know I'm talking fast, but there's a lot here I want to get through. So your early career, a lot of people say, well, I want to get, I want to make $40,000 coming out. I want to make $60,000, this is what I want to make coming out. That should not be your mentality. Now, pay is important. You're going to see in a few minutes when I talk about saving, the amount you're paid will determine how much you can save. But in your early career, what's most important? It's not how much you make. In fact, be willing to give up some salary if it's going to allow you to work with the right people, work in the area that you really enjoy working, give you an opportunity to move up. You hear about football coaches all the time taking a position with low pay in order to get to work with somebody that they really admire and can learn from. So in your early career, it's positioning. If you like what you do, if you get with the right people, if you're given an opportunity to quote unquote make that play, the pay will take care of itself if you're good at what you're doing. I promise you. You haven't arrived yet in that first job or even that second job. Always be thinking about that career track. Your primary objective early is to learn and look for the right opportunities. You're going to have opportunities, but don't overdo it. Don't become known as a job hopper. There's a fine, I would say 3 or 4 jobs, not out of the question, but when you see people making a job move every year, year and a half, they're going to become known as a job hopper, and the question is going to be, well, what's wrong with them? Why are they always moving around? And you see that with different professions too. Okay, choose mentors. Choose people that can help you. I'm not asking you to be selfish. I'm not asking you to think solely on yourself, but whenever you're working with somebody, enjoy it. It needs to be somebody that you like, that you work well with, but always in the back of your mind, because you're helping them, but always in the back of the mind say, what can that person do to make me better, to make me more effective, to make me a better career person? Okay, last one there on the career tips It is a small, small world. And the last thing I'll leave you with is your ethics is absolutely critical. If you ever do something that's questionable, that you're making a shortcut, that you're, maybe turning a blind eye towards something, a sin of omission can be just as bad as a sin of commission. Always do the right thing. Those of you in my class know that I talk about having a little test in your mind. Could you go tell your grandmother about it and have her approve of what you did? Could you go tell Mike Wallace or somebody on 60 Minutes what you did and have them approve of it? So now, and coming back to this, it's a small world, and once your reputation is tarnished, you might as well move to a new industry, because, and really, it'll follow you there too. If there's ever a red flag by your name, it can be a problem. Okay, let me give y'all a few tips about saving money. First of all, the name of this presentation, I need to slow down just a little bit. The name of this presentation is How to Be a Millionaire by the Age of 40. Now let's don't kid ourselves. You're gonna need some lucky breaks. You're gonna need some nice raises. You're gonna need some opportunities to be a millionaire by the age of 40. But what I wanna show you is a few things you can do, and I'm willing to bet if you do a couple of these things, plus have a couple of good opportunities, that you too can be a millionaire by the age of 40. The big thing is income does not equal wealth. A lot of people say, I'm making X dollars a year, so therefore I'm wealthy. It's not what you make, it's what you keep that makes you wealthy. So paychecks are not profits. And I'm gonna go over some of these in a little more detail, but pre-tax payroll deduction can pay off big. First of all, you're not paying taxes on that money. What's our average tax rate? 20, 30, 40%. So you think about that. If you're making pre-tax deductions, especially if it's going to retirement, that's additional income you're making. And we're gonna see with a 401k, just for saving money, your employer's giving you a raise. They're gonna give you a 3 or 4% raise just because you're saving money, and that's nice. And we'll see that in just a minute. And also, you don't miss it. That monthly payroll deduction, $200, $300, $400, you don't tend to miss that. The beauty of free money is the key to that payroll deduction. Don't do anything big. Don't make any major purchases. And one of the things I'm gonna tell you to do is forego buying a nice car. You're gonna see that $600 a month car payment is the key to you having some wealth later on down the road. Chances are, if you save your money, you'll have enough cash to just go write a check for a car down the road if you will put off that consumption until a later point. Have you an emergency fund, couple of months salary if you've ever lost your job. If you ever lose your job, you need a backup plan. It's gonna take you a couple of months to get reemployed. With all of you, with your skills, I'm sure you'll get another job, but you're gonna need to have an emergency fund. Investing does not have to equal sacrifice. We'll look at that in just a minute. Use your time wisely. A lot of people frown on the idea of a second job. But find something you enjoy doing, even if it doesn't pay that much. If it's something you enjoy doing and it's not really a job, why not take a second job? Maybe you enjoy, food and maybe you enjoy cooking. I know somebody that just goes down to the local, it's a nice restaurant, and volunteers as a sous chef. Not volunteers, gets paid, but it's not a lot. But they just enjoy working with new recipes and things like that. I know somebody that enjoys people, and they work at a really nice restaurant as a chef, as a waiter, and they make great money in tips just on Friday and Saturday night because they need extra help. This person's 40 years old. They just enjoy being around people. So I'm not saying go to be a waiter, but look for something you enjoy, and why not take a second job if it's something that you enjoy. Find hobbies that can make you money. One of the things that I've done to make some money over the years, I was a banker. Been a banker for many, many years, was the president of the bank for 12 years, and I always enjoyed looking at different banks. And back during the financial crisis, all the bank stocks went to nothing. And one thing I had, based on my experience and my knowledge, was, hey, these banks are way undervalued. We were talking about this in my strategic management class the other day. General Motors got down to $2 a share back in 2008. Y'all heard me tell stories about all the crashes back in 2008. One thing I actually enjoyed doing was I looked at all those stocks. I said, these stocks are way undervalued. And so, and I didn't have a lot of money to invest, but in 2008, I started investing heavily in those undervalued stocks. General Motors today is what, $30 a share? It was $2 when I started buying it. And the bank stocks were like $6, $7. Bank of America got down to $8 a share. I'm not sure where it is today, but all those stocks were undervalued. So for something like that you enjoy doing, I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a minute. All assets are not created equally. The trap of depreciable assets, and that goes back to my car example. When you drive that car off the lot, that new car, what's the value? It goes down, what, 25%? The minute you drive it off the lot. When you drive a 1-year-old or 2-year-old used car off the lot, the value goes down 0. No, there's no depreciation immediately. It takes a while for there to be depreciation. And that's the best example of a depreciable asset. Appreciable assets, think of something you enjoy doing. I enjoy hunting. And I've bought a few little 100-acre tracts of land, 75-acre tracts of land that were just a mess. Had kudzu and, you know, sweet gum trees and just and all I would do is just go in there, do a little bit of bulldozer work, burn it, plant food plots, put up a couple tree stands, and then sell it to some wealthy hunter from Atlanta or Dothan or Montgomery or Birmingham or wherever for a nice profit. But I enjoy doing it in the meantime. My uncle, what he likes to do is working in the yard. He's a landscape expert. And what he did was he bought property at Lake Martin, Alabama, which is, I'm from Alabama, as most of y'all know, which is a beautiful lake over in central Alabama. And he started out small, and what he'd do is he'd buy kind of a nice house, but the yard was just a mess, pine straw everywhere. He'd go in there and cut down some trees and put in flower beds and paint the house and make it look great. And he'd make $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 every time he'd do this, just on sprucing it up, just a little bit of work. And I bet he's done 15 of those over the years. Really, he didn't even consider it work, but I bet he's made over $1 million just with those houses over the years, just doing something he likes to do. And I'll mention that a little more in a second. All debt is not bad. Investment debt is bad. Debt to buy an appreciable asset or a depreciable asset is bad. Good credit is king. You know, be sure, in fact, take on a little debt to prove that you can pay something back. Maybe a little credit card or a little car payment or something like that. How are we doing on time? I don't want to run over. Doing okay?
20 after.
Okay, got plenty of time. And I'm going to talk about that mortgage in just a second. You can be a millionaire by the time of 40. Got another little handout here, the nuts and bolts of saving money. And I wanted to give y'all some examples of what these numbers can mean and just how much saving a little can mean to you later on in your life and your career. To become truly wealthy, you need to have a mentality of savings and getting by with less rather than spending more. You know, you don't have to have the fanciest house. You don't have to have the fanciest car. And I know that sounds like a sacrifice, but look at what the rewards are. Utilize your company's 401k plan. Your company is probably going to give you more salary in the form of a matching contribution. So what I did is I kind of took an average, and I just said, let's say you make $40,000 a year, and you contribute 7% of your salary, and that sounds like a lot, but look at that per month. What does a latte cost? $4? What does what does sushi cost? When I go to sushi bar, it's usually a $50, $75 tab when we get through. Between me and my boys, we can eat a lot of sushi. But you think about what some of these things cost, and we don't even think about it. A little bit here, a little bit there. $233 a month. I guarantee you, somebody says, you spill that much, you drop that much in change every month out of your pocket. Maybe not $233, but it's amazing how much money people waste. So what the company's gonna do is they're gonna give you 3 or maybe 4%, in some cases 5% on top of that, which is another $100 a month in salary that they're gonna give you without tax consequences. If you do that, and I know, you say 7%, well, that's a lot of salary, I need that money. If you really get down to it, you don't need that money. Now listen to this. Y'all are up, let's say y'all are 20-ish. In 40 years, I know that sounds like a long time, but it's less and less every day, isn't it, Dr. Cheokas? It's amazing how fast the time flies. In 40 years, depending on the rate of return, you will have in excess of $2 million for your retirement. On just that little bit that I said there. That's without any raises. Let's just say that you never get a raise the rest of your career, and you're kind of stuck at that $40,000 for the rest of your career. Now, if you get historical returns, which again, you hear brokers always saying past performance is no indication of future performance. But if you get historical performance, you will have closer to $3 million for your retirement. That sounds pretty good, doesn't it? Is it worth giving up a latte or a pizza or an extra run to the sushi bar or I went to TCBY Yogurt the other day with my 2 boys. That is I hope there's nobody from TCBY here. They go in, and of course the boys get carried away and they got yogurt everywhere and they're putting all the toppings. Y'all ever done this? You put it up on that scale and she says, that'll be 32.75, some crazy number like that. If you can do without those little excesses, those things like that, in my case, 1 round of golf per month, that adds up to a lot of money. $3 million, $2.5 million sounds pretty good, and I'm not talking about anything big here. Now I know 62 or 61 is a lot different, and that's if you retire at that fairly early age. If you can afford to go on to say 70, it'll be way more even than that, because every year on the end is much more beneficial to your savings than those early years. Okay, so when you get a raise, enjoy some of it, but invest some of it too. Let's go back to our original example. If you get a raise or series of raises, let's just say after about 10 years, it gets you up to $65,000 per year. And let's just say you lower your overall contribution down to just 5%. You're still going to be getting that contribution from your company, and your total retirement account, even with a slightly less return, it's still going to be over $3 million. Sounds pretty good, doesn't it? Okay? Appreciate the value of compounding interest. I've always liked to invest in dividends or interest bearing, because what they're doing is they're paying you interest, and you're making interest on interest on interest. Y'all get the idea. Every time they make a payment into your account of interest, you're making interest on that. And then the interest on that, you're making interest on that. So that's called compounding interest, and it's a beautiful thing. That's one good thing about debt is you don't pay compounding interest, but on your savings you get compound. So just a simple example. Let's say you want to develop a college fund for your children, which by the way will be in about 25 years, but it seems like about 2 weeks. It goes by really fast. So you take, let's say you put $10,000 in dividend stocks and bonds, and let's say you manage to put another couple $100 a month on top of that. In just 25 years, you will have saved over $250,000 for that college fund. By that time, that'll probably buy you about a year at most universities, the way tuition is going up. Okay. Look for investments in things you know and appreciate. Now, I'm not saying these things that I've got listed here are something that I'm out trying to sell, but they make for a nice emergency fund if I ever had to sell them. But one thing I enjoy is hunting, and I bought some nice shotguns over the years that are now worth way more than what I paid for them. It's amazing how much those shotguns have gone up. I bought them several years ago, and they're worth maybe 10 times what I paid for them. Not that I'm gonna sell them, but if I ever had to, and it's just because I like the shotguns. You go buy a new car just because you like the new car, it's not gonna appreciate like that. Okay, one thing, and I mentioned to y'all about the land. My wife, much to my chagrin, likes estate jewelry, old jewelry. She doesn't buy expensive pieces, but she likes old jewelry. And that stuff has gone up like crazy. She likes antique furniture. Again, nothing museum quality, but all that stuff has gone up. So you know, if there are things you like, if there are hobbies that you like, there are some of those that can pay off too. Okay, I mentioned Lake Martin. Oh, a friend of mine in Mobile, Alabama, several years ago, there were a lot of older homes around Mobile, smaller homes, but he liked to be a handyman. And what he would do is he'd buy that house, and the rougher it looked, the better it was for him. He'd go in, fix the floors, do some painting. I mean, nothing major, no structural changes, maybe shore it up a little bit, and then he would either flip it or he would put it into a rental program. If he flipped it and made a little bit of money, he would put that into the next project. And again, it wasn't that he was trying to invest, he just liked working on houses. He just enjoyed the way it looked before and after, you know, and it was great. I mean, you'd see this old knock, and I couldn't see it. I'd go look at it like, man, are you gonna mess with this house? He said, oh yeah, just wait till I get through with it. And then it would be beautiful when he'd get through with it. And he'd make money, and again, people are willing to pay money if it looks good. You know, if it fits what they're looking for, they're willing to pay more money for it. So now you notice this, he's making, not to mention the additional money that he pocketed on profit, but he's got, I want to say like 7 or 8 houses in his rental program, and he makes about $4,500 a month on top of his salary from the rental income from these houses. And that's the kind of stuff you need to be looking for. Remember, the coaches, the knowledge, the people you know get you in the position to make a play, but you got to be looking out for the opportunities to make a play. Let me keep moving here. Couple quick points here. Don't pay for a home over 30 years if you can handle it over 10 or 15 years. If you purchase a $200,000 home on a 30-year mortgage, you're going to pay well over $200,000 in interest, and especially since interest rates are going up. You're going to pay way more than what you paid for the house on the interest. Think about that. Just for the right to have that bank's money, you're going to pay them more than you actually paid for the house. Now again, your payment's going to be lower, but what are you doing? Look at this. If you did it over a 10-year mortgage, you're going to pay about $60,000 in interest, and a 15-year mortgage, you're going to pay about $100,000 in interest. So you cut your interest way down if you can afford. That's almost like saving too. Say, okay, I'm going to spend a little bit more on my mortgage payment, and I'm going to save a lot of money. Buying a car over 4 years rather than 6 years saves you $2,500 in interest. That's a nice little paycheck, isn't it? If you can afford a slightly higher payment. Carrying a balance of $10,000 on your credit cards, which I resemble that remark. A lot of people have at least $10,000 on their credit card. That's costing you in excess of $2,000 a year. That'd be a nice raise, wouldn't it? If you can cut out that credit card debt. All right, so my last point here. We sort of teased you a little bit about being a millionaire. No question, to be a millionaire by the time you're 40, you have to have those opportunities. You have to be in the right place at the right time. Sometimes you have to know the right people. But if you impress people and you know the right people, you're going to have the opportunities. But even if you don't, and again, $1,500 a month sounds like a lot to you right now. You know, we're all poor, broke college students, but I promise you, if you can look at your budget, and I think we put an example of a budget, look at your budget, and by hook or by crook, figure out how you can save, on average, you don't have to do it to start with, $1,500 a month into some sort of an investment, returning a reasonable rate of return. On average, the stock market's return about 12%. Let's just say you can get 7%. By the time you are 40, you'll have over $850,000 in cash in your account. And if you can manage to invest in some appreciable assets rather than depreciable assets during this period, you'll easily, by the time you're 40, have a net worth. Not that you've got over $1 million in your account. You're going to have pretty close to it in your cash, but you're going to have well over $1 million net worth. But it takes planning. You got to start now. And do we have any questions about all that? I know I covered a lot in a real short amount of time. Questions about investing, saving, give up a little now, live a little bit frugally now. And again, I wish I had done more of it, but you can benefit from my experience. It's amazing to see what people can do by saving a little bit now. You will be truly wealthy later on. Okay? Thank y'all.
I'm gonna hit the 10 key steps to become a millionaire. A millionaire is just like anyone else, just with a lot more money. Success is not any magical or rare thing. You just had to take the right strategies and investing, and just believe and work hard, and you can achieve it. The first step is be frugal. You don't have to buy the most expensive, nicest car as soon as it comes out, or the nicest watch that you always wanted. Wait until you make some money. You don't have to buy that at such a young age and when you don't have the money. Wait until you do have the money and then invest and buy it. Make financial success a priority. You just gotta believe that you can do it and not have your mind on other things, but make that your top priority in what you're doing, and push ahead with that. Work harder and longer than everything else. Success is not a journey. For most people, it's a marathon. So you have to put in the long hours, the extra time that other people aren't willing to do in order to be successful. Pay cash for everything. A loan is never a good idea. When you start a business, it's not all the stuff you have, the assets, that's going to make you the money. It's the customers and the revenue that you have. So invest and use them as your key, and then once you build up the equity, then make loans if you have to. But that loans is never a good idea. Eliminate all other options. Whatever you decide to do, make sure that's what you want to do, and don't have your mind on other things. Put that as your number one goal, and always push forward and try to achieve that. Believe you can do it. You're always going to have doubt about, you're becoming a millionaire. Whatever your goal is, it's going to be hard to think like that and that you can achieve it, because it's kind of a unrealistic thought. But as long as you believe and work hard and do the studying and investing, you can achieve that. Formulate your vision for success. I want to be rich, I want to be successful are kind of too vague. You got to have more realistic goals, I guess. Like, you want to own 20 apartment complexes and have 3 different businesses. Make it more specific of what your goals are. Always use multiple lines of attack. Whenever you're running your business or trying to get clientele, always use multiple angles to accomplish that one thing. Dominate your competition. Don't just compete with the other competitors around, or make it your goal to be able to dominate them, and you run the field. Don't think in shortages. Just say you want to become a millionaire, but once you get to that goal, don't think you got to stop there. Always push forward, because the world is never short of money. There's always going to be more money to be made out there. Becoming a millionaire is obviously a hard goal to obtain. Most people will never reach it because they don't put in the hard work and dedication it takes. But you can achieve as long as you go out there and do what it takes and really desire what you want to do.
All right, I'm going to talk about investments and stocks. When you hear investments and you hear about the stock market or your portfolio, the main word you probably heard, if you've never heard anything else, is diversification. And diversifying is a big deal, is a big part of your investing. Say you have, if you want to get invested in stocks, you have your safe stocks, such as your Coca-Colas, your Johnson & Johnsons, stocks that are steady. They're just going to steadily rise. They never really decline much. They never really gain leaps and bounds, but they're just a steady stock, good place to put your money and sit on. Then you have your other stocks, your cheaper stocks, like Dr. Bennett was talking about in the crisis, in the financial crisis. Bank of America actually got down to right at $5 a share. And if you waited until it kind of planed out, you know that Bank of America is worth more than $5 a share. You invest $5,000, Bank of America right now is sitting at $15 a share. You triple your money just like that. But that is also a risk. You can also invest your money, and say you invested in Bank of America when it was at $10 a share and it dropped all the way down to $5, you lost your money there. Something else to invest in would be ETFs, or even hedge funds where you give people your money and they do the investing for you pretty much. That's more of a long-term investment. You don't really get your returns until later down the road. That's like a 5, 10, 15-year deal. And then you also have your rare precious metals such as gold, silver. I'm sure everybody's heard of the buy gold, buy silver. But with when the economic times are shaky, gold and silver is tangible. You can put your hands on it. You're not relying on the trust of the government for your finances.
And it also protects you against inflation when
Inflation.
things get good, so you got a double benefit of that.
Also, as Dr. Bennett said, investing in real estate, appreciable things such as, this might sound crazy, but if you got a favorite football star and you got an autographed card from him, 20 years down the road, he might make it to the Hall of Fame, might make money. It might sound crazy, but just the other day I saw him there where a Tom Brady helmet from Michigan went for $14,000. The guy bought it for like $20 and got Tom Brady to sign it at a game. He sold it for $14,000. So you might not think of that as an investment at the time. However, it can be an investment.
Let me tell you one quick one. My wife and I have an autographed copy of To Kill a Mockingbird. I don't know if y'all have ever read that. Harper Lee signed it. And this is terrible to say, but when she dies, that's awful to think about. But she's 90, she's 90-something years old. But when she died, you think about that. I've got an autograph of Coach Bear Bryant over at Alabama. You buy something like that, eventually, it's going to be worth a lot of money in most cases.
I think the main thing is a lot of people don't understand the stock market and they're scared of investing into the stock market. And you can't really be scared to invest. If you don't do it, you're not going to make the money. But if you put the risk into it, there is the risk that you can fall flat on your face. But most of the time, you will make money out of it. You just have to trust it and go with it.
All right. Well, I have 3 good tips to help you save money. I'm going to talk about knowing the difference between a need and a want, budgeting your money, knowing where your money goes. We can start off weekly, then monthly, then yearly, and also starting an emergency fund. Knowing the difference between a need and a want is very important. I know coming to college, I definitely had to know the difference because living with your parents, you don't really think about, oh, I need to check the price of this because my mom's just going to pay for everything. So now that I have my own job, I think about, that may not, I may not be able to pay for this month or this week or whatever. A need is something that you have to have, something that's a necessity to life. And a want is something that you would like to have. And a lot of things are wants. Most of the things in life that we have are wants. They're not really something that we definitely need. So we do have to budget. I think everybody has this sheet. If you look at it, the top is going to be, it's a monthly budget sheet, so it's not weekly or anything like that. It's something that you would have to think about over the course of 30 to 31 days. The first part is the income. You would basically put in your part-time job or your full-time job, the money from home, from your parents if you're still getting allowances from them, and other financial aid, refund, savings, anything like that. You would calculate all of that and total it on that part. And then your expenses, and these are just a couple of expenses. I'm sure that some people may have other things, and there is a other slot. And basically at the end, you would subtract your income from your expenses and see what you come up with. Now that number should be positive. If it's negative, it's a problem, y'all. It should definitely be positive. And if you have a decent positive number, then that means you're saving pretty well monthly, on a monthly basis. But I'm sure you would probably want to start off weekly, start small, and then build your way up. Also, avoid impulse buying. If you're online, like myself, my freshman year, I had a bad thing with this, but I'm an online shopper because, living in Americus, we don't have malls or anything. So sometimes I would have to, go to Charlotte Russe or something like that and buy online, but try not to buy things that's not in your budget. You don't really need it. Over time you can have it. Also, research. If you're going to buy a large thing like a car or anything else, if you're going to buy something big, research it. Try to go to different stores or different websites or something and see who has the best price for it. Don't just go to one store or one website and, okay, that's a price that I can pay for. No, research. Try to see what other places have it for cheaper. And also start an emergency fund. If you get into the habit of starting to save, it'll kind of be second nature to you. You won't have to think about, oh, I need to take $100 out of this paycheck or $20 out of this paycheck. After a while, it'll just happen. Like it'll just. And a lot of jobs, they have a thing where they can take money out and kind of put it to the side for you. So definitely think about doing
pre-tax, so you don't pay tax on that with that payroll deduction.
Right. So those are my tips for saving money and working more to become a millionaire.
Any questions? Y'all have any questions? We moved through it pretty quick, didn't we? Anybody from Enactus want to add anything to what we're trying to do? We'd certainly like to have all of you involved in Enactus. We're going to have we have a leadership class that Dr. Gaynor Cheokas and our team teach, and we call it a class, but as people will attest, there's a lot of work. There's a lot to be done, but it's not a traditional class in the sense that we have 3 tests and write a bunch of papers and have to listen to a lot of lectures. We're going to offer that class again in the spring. It does count as an elective, and I would encourage all of you to take a look at that class. We'll be doing some service projects, which, by the way, that is a great way to give to the community. But you remember what I told y'all earlier, think of ways to meet people, to meet the right people. If you're involved in service in the community, guess what? The movers and the shakers are going to be involved in service in the community, and you're going to get a chance to meet them. And this is another terrible thing to say. I was talking about Harper Lee dying, but there are 3 kinds of people in the world. People in my class have heard me say this. There's the people that make things happen, there's the people that watch things happen, and there's the people that wondered what the hell happened. Y'all want to, excuse my French, y'all want to be the people that make things happen, not because that's good in and of itself, and it is. But if you're out there making things happen, you're going to be exposed to other people that are making things happen, and you're going to be given opportunities to achieve. So always keep that in mind. So take a look at that class. Get involved in Enactus, formerly known as SIFE, and it's a very rewarding experience, and you'll get to meet key people that make things happen. Dr. Cheokas, you want to add anything?
Yes, just in closing, first of all, let's give our panel a round of applause. Dr. Bennett, thank you for leading. Chris, Cameron, and Toni are senior students in Enactus and in our leadership class this semester, and so I think that they did an excellent job. This is just an example of what we do in the class. We give you an opportunity to do things that are a little bit beyond what the normal parameters are for a college course, and I think that this is a great opportunity for them to be able to write this on their resume and to also just have this experience and this research that they were able to do. In closing, we do have an announcement to make about tomorrow evening. Enactus will be part of the downtown open house for Christmas. We will have a table and we will be doing an awareness campaign for our local food pantry, which is Harvest for Hope. We encourage you all to stop by and enjoy some of the festivities. We will be located on Jackson Street, which is on the side street of the Windsor Hotel, and so hopefully that'll be a lot of fun, and we'll also be able to do some good and give back to our community, so we encourage you all to be there for that. Any other announcements from the club or any members? Dr. Grimes, thank you for having your class here. All the other students, thank you for being here. It's been a pleasure to have you here and to serve you, so have a great day and a happy holiday.